I hit the record button? Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'll go back a quick page. So what we're doing is looking to add an item at, say, the top level of what would normally be the resources menu, okay? And the first thing I did, in case you're in a different situation, excuse me, is I'm gonna, okay, that was the right one. Is if I click on yes, I can see what type of content it is up here by the title. And that's, so I want to identify that this is from the vocabulary program type edit terms. So what that means is we're going to go up into the taxonomy. We're going to look for a program type. And then we can see here are the program types. This is a little bit unusual use for these, but there's nothing wrong with it. So if I'm going to go on the test site, so I'm going to just go ahead and make a test page to verify that this all works. I'm not leading you astray. Test content. So now if this were content, we could sort of play with the menu item, but here we're not. This is actually a term. Oh, okay. We're just going to jump over to the live site. I thought this was fixed. I don't know what's going on here. We had this problem before, Bob, and I thought I had fixed it. And I actually played with the test site last night, and I didn't run into this. Let's go ahead and do this on the live site. We'll just delete it again right away. So again, same thing, program type. I think it's going to work here. I think it's something about the dev site. Add term test.
What's your term, Julia? Because we could just give
we could just make it, I guess. College and university outreach.
I spell college right?
Yeah.
It's this one. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
I mean, so we can just disable this too, I think, so that we don't delete it, but it doesn't show up until you're ready. So now I've created the term, and the only other thing I'm going to need to do is make sure it's in the right place. So here's where it is that where it looks like it's sorting these alphabetically. The only thing, I could make it a child, sort of like this, of any of these, right? So you can just drag and drop it into place.
Okay. The purpose of it right now is to link to it in a welcome series email. So to show the college, I don't think we've thought about where specifically we located it on the site, more for that purpose. So if it can just be floating for the moment, that'd be great. But if not, that's fine.
Well, no,
it can go to resources, I guess.
Well, I can hide it. I just wanted to be sure that if I thought it was going to be in resources, it was, and it's not. So now I'm confused.
Okay.
Maybe okay. I think I know it's. I didn't tag it. I bet.
Okay.
Or what were you going to say about?
I just wondered if we had saved it, but
well, that's also possible that I didn't save this change.
Oh, there it is. That's it.
You know, it's right. It's there, but it doesn't. No, I'm gonna try look at something else quick. Is there some kind of tag here? Oh, here, parent terms. Yeah. Well, no, but it. Yeah, that's not it either. Let's try saving. Maybe that was it. Home page.
weird.
So maybe these were added manually. I thought they were that these terms were automatically showing up in the menu, which is a little bit unusual, but that's what I thought was happening. It may be that we have to manually create the link here, which is in fact appearing to be the case. So these are the resources. So this might be exactly what you want, Julia, is that when you're ready, I could just leave this. And right now it isn't showing up in the menu. And then when you wanted it to show up in the menu, I guess you have to create a link right here. And you know how to do that?
I do, yeah.
Okay, and then link to it.
Great.
So, well, okay. So what this is telling me is that you could, I had assumed that these link terms were automatically showing up in the menu so that they, at that level, I'll go back to the front page. I had assumed that all of the resources were automatically terms, but it appears that's not necessarily the case, that you could, one of these might actually be a page. So you don't have to, right now, though, they all seem to be program types. So, but if you're just creating a menu link, the menu link could be to a page, it could be to a different type of content. So,
So now I guess to test that it works, what another thing we need to do is try to create a resource in toolkit or general post and see if we can tag it to colleges and universities.
yes, so. Yeah, that should be easy enough. That should be showing up here,
Awesome.
and it is, yeah.
Great. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
exactly
that's
what-
really all you need.
Yeah, thank you. So for me to get to that, I'd just go to probably like content and I'd see it as one of the more recent ones.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Great.
no, this is not gonna show up under content.
No, just to find the page we made. Or whatever it was, that
The
thing.
colleges and outreach will not show up under content. So the new, whatever new content you created might show up here. The resource and toolkit would. But to find the tag that we just created, you have to go to terms, taxonomy. So you really have to go to taxonomy. We created a program type, right? Yeah, college and university.
Okay.
So this is not a page. This is not technically content. So that's sort of vague. I shouldn't say that. Doesn't matter.
I'll
Okay,
just write that. So you need to go to terms, taxonomy.
yeah, well, taxonomy and then the whichever type, and that was a program type.
The structure.
And again, I'll show you,
Program.
if you did lose these notes and forget that, you could go to a similar one, click edit, and it shows you this is a program type. That's what type of a term it is.
But it still shows up as a page. That's what I think is confusing to us, probably.
It does, yes. It shows it's
It has its own content display.
it has a full body page. This is a little unusual, and not entire. Actually, let me check something out. The reason, one of the reasons to do this, I guess, is if then you have, is this content that's tagged with family? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the reason to have that sort of be a term instead of just a page, is that you can have the page like content, but then it'll also display the terms that are related to it.
All right.
Okay, great. So then the
I mean,
next step,
yeah.
which isn't immediate, and I know we have other things to talk about, so we don't talk about it now, but is just making sure that I can tag events to that college and university page, which I think is one of the things we talked about last week, which isn't urgent, but that would be the next step or need for that page.
Making sure that you can tag events to that term.
Yes.
Yeah, that should be the same, I think, isn't it? How does the,
So we don't have that categorization ability for events right now.
oh, you want that as a new thing? You want to be able to categorize events the way you did tool?
Yeah.
Okay, so that when you go to create an event in the future, it would be similar to this, where you could categorize them.
Yes.
The same choices all the way?
Yeah, I mean, they're not all probably necessary, but I think it's fine to just have them all.
Okay.
And I think we have that, yeah.
We have a ticket for that, you mean?
I think so. Add video and category to events in the doing part. We did add the video, but I think user story and editor should be able to categorize any events such that mental illness can have an event show up in the resource tool page.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was distracted by a message on my screen about that.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, I'm finding here. Here's the Trello board. This is the task that you're describing to me.
Yes.
Yes, and we did talk about that in December. Okay. We'll put this next on our agenda.
Awesome. Thank you. That's it for me. Sorry to take up so much time.
It's okay. So I think this task is done. The logo, this is the one we just talked about. The notification for keep forgetting about this one, sorry. This shouldn't be a big deal. Add invoices. How about this one? Okay, this was just the whole Uber cart thing, and let's talk about that in a second.
Talk about that here.
The testimonial section is done, so that's the doing column. I think I'm gonna leave that there. If there's anything that's not in that column that you want to talk about now, but I think we're using up our time. And we do have something else to talk about, which is so we added the Uber cart and organic groups quickly, but then I think there was a problem, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, it was not.
We added it to the dev site. So last night I was trying to see if it worked on the dev site, and it's broken on the dev site. And I think what we need to do is refresh the whole live site to the dev site, figure out what the weirdness we're having on the dev site is.
Okay.
And then again, you can work with it.
All right.
I have my own use for Uber cart, so I've been playing a little bit with that the last couple of days. So if you want to schedule a sort of a really quick high level getting started with Uber cart, once we have it working on the dev site, I can do that. The other thing we could do is set up a completely independent site for you to play with this outside of the NCPD site, just to simplify it. Let's see if we can get it working here, though. So it is, I was getting a different error last night, but
Well, maybe before, just real quick, Tim, maybe
Yep.
before we jump into that, there was, if you could hop back to Trello, real quick.
yeah, I was just going to show you this stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good.
So it is here, and
Oh.
I've enabled it. And then the first thing that I noticed is that when you enable Uber cart, there should be a new store tag up here.
Okay.
And the fact that that's not there is already telling me something's wrong. And then as I go in and try to configure it, I get some more errors. So I'll go back to Trello now. I just wanted to show you
Okay.
that. And again, organic groups is here too, but I think we're having the same problem.
Yeah,
So
okay.
let's go back to Trello.
Sometimes. Let's see, so what? If we could just talk real quick about backups, because I was, my heart stopped the other day when I was sick on Monday, and then Julie told me, she was like, hey, our CRM's down or something like that. I'm like,
Right.
dang, and it's the question is more about like backups.
Yep.
And
Good question.
and I'm like, I was like, well, they're all just automatically backed up, and I'm like, I really don't know,
Right.
And then I was looking, and I think I was a little bit confused because when we were transitioning from Media Temple, they were transitioning us over to their parent company late last February. And I got a
Yes.
backup of our website done last minute, kind of before they were doing it. I couldn't, it was a long story, but it was a challenge to get it done. And but so I just thought,
Yep.
probably just have like a regular monthly, if it's possible, automatic.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can put that into our system where it's just like it shoots it out to either me on an email or to a group site or something. Cause I just
Sure.
don't, I was just like, what would we ever have to
Right.
if, and then, the other thing was just like, if you could send us like a formal contingency plan, if for whatever reason you're
Yeah.
unavailable,
Yes.
because I was just like, I don't know what we need, but like, I don't have your number,
Yep.
I don't have the other guy's number and all that sort of stuff. So it just all was like, well, this is a good time to just kind of ask those
Yep.
questions and put something in place. So that to me is like,
Yep.
yeah, a thing. So more than, anyway, yeah.
Yep.
So anything you can share on how
These are
we
good.
ups
Yep.
and all. Yeah.
These are good questions and things you should be thinking about and things we should probably have talked about before.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and I know this doesn't fully address your problem, but at the very minimum, we'd have server level backups on a nightly basis. So if something
Right.
dramatic goes wrong, we can access now that that is not something that you could access directly. You'd have to go through us. I think your suggestion to actually have access to the backups isn't a bad one.
Okay,
I don't have actually that set up for any other clients right now, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to set it up for all of them. And I have talked, it's actually on my list of things,
okay,
of sort of infrastructure things that I'd like to have a better solution for. There's one sort of quick solution for that. I'm just not sure if it's the best one, but it's a suitable one, which is the backup and migrate module. And this is something, it's a module we can basically add to the site. And I could like get that in place, and that would allow you to do your own backup.
okay,
There used to be a service called Node Swirl, which you could sort of easily integrate with the backup and migrate module to do an off-site backup. That service is no longer available. There are other services you can use. They're just unfortunately not as easy as Node Swirl was. So I need to, and I haven't used them. So I mean, you can use this module along with something like Amazon to set up an account.
okay.
And it will like on a regular basis dump a copy of your site onto an Amazon server, and that could be something that you have, that you have access to as well as us.
Yeah, I would, I mean, that all sounds good. And like I would like it to be, makes sense for it to be like automatic, but I would also have the ability to go in and just like do a hey, I want one right now sort of thing, because I remember telling Julia real quick that she's like, have you ever had problems with something like this before? And it was like years ago before we moved online to CRM, we had a RAID 4 RAID server in our office and then an online backup. And I hadn't checked the online backup. I just thought, well, it's an online backup, it's working, it'll continue working. And so I went home sick one day and I thought, well, I'll just get it from the backup. I'm like, the backup hasn't been working for 6 months. Shit. And so, and then I walk in the next morning and my boss is like, what do we do when that RAID thing goes down? It's really annoying. I'm like, the RAID thing's down. So it crashed that night. I'm like, are you kidding me? So, and then our backups were like 6 months old. And I was like, holy shit. So, so we had to do a lot of manual re-entering. So that's why it's nice to have both,
Yes.
on here to switch.
Yes, lots of stories like that out there.
Yeah.
So we could probably do a little bit more there. We have sort of as I say, a minimal sort of server-wide backup. It's not the most convenient. Having a site-by-site backup would also be helpful. But like I say, at the very minimum, I'll make it a priority to get the backup and migrate tool installed.
Okay.
So that you could do your own backup. But I'm also going to talk to my team about how to do some more automated backups to remote servers.
Yeah, and so would this be like the CRM and the website, or how does that work?
Good point. Well, I'm pretty sure that backup and migrate is not going to do the CRM well, which is obviously very important to you. The other system that I'm talking about, we could do that. So it's just an automated. I mean, again, our server-wide backups got everything.
Right. Now, so if you could look at Trello, I mean,
yes.
I put it in the notes, and maybe this makes sense to you or not. Down there, advice on backups. I found this thing about, and I'm like, okay, maybe, and I could do this, but I was just like, well, I've never done this, and I could go in and take a look, but I'm just like, this is, these look like words that help. But it's just a matter of like, oh, I wonder if Tim's done something like this or not. But
yeah, so well, I don't, as you know, I don't do a lot of CRM sites or CRM sites, so I haven't thought as much about that. In a regular backdrop site, there's really three things you need to make sure you back up: the code directory, the files directory, and your database.
Okay.
And backup and migrate does all three of those. Actually, sometimes you also need a separate copy of your config files. So, but again, you can do all four of those things with backup and migrate. But with Civi CRM, you have an extra database, which I don't think backup and migrate would handle.
Okay.
So we're going to need a better solution for that. at my end, it's not a big deal. We can just write a script that backs up everything we need, and that can include. So this diminishes the value of the backup and migrate temporary solution. It doesn't eliminate it. It might still be worth doing because I can do it so quickly while I try to get the other thing in place.
Okay.
But again, none of this is to suggest you're without a backup in the meantime. It's our server backup. And
Well, that's what and I was like, that's what my assumption was, but I wasn't. I mean, because that's. I mean, it's like because you have that online service, they're like legit. I mean, I'm like, so it's all backed up, but I'm like, yeah, but it's weird not to have access to it. Like, I'm like, if Charlie was like, well, where's our data? I'm like, well,
sure,
and she didn't, but I was like, man, I don't know where my data is, so.
I would push back on that. It's weird, and that I think most client, most people, well, in any kind of shared hosting environment, there would be that sort of option where you could directly log in. In any kind of hosting like yours, like ours, probably it's people sort of trust their host to manage those backups. But I think it's perfectly reasonable and it could be uncomfortable is a good word, that you'd feel better if you had access to that. And I agree.
So I immediately, like this morning or whenever it was, like I downloaded every table I could out of the database, but it's not the thing, because then you'd have to rebuild everything.
Yeah, I mean, we've been hosting sites like this for 4 or 5 years, and you're the first person that's actually asked for this.
Oh, wow.
But because again, I think most of our clients are just relying on us to do it. And again, I've talked about doing it and making it available to clients in the way you're asking for, but because nobody's ever asked for it, it's never been high priority. Yeah,
and usually you never need it, but
but when you do, you do.
And then you got to answer those questions. Well, you have a backup, right? I think.
Okay. Well, I mean, I thought about this when we were having problems with your Civi CRM database.
Yeah.
The first thing I said is, remember, we got a backup, right? So if we need to. Have we confirmed everything is working on Civi CRM now? Julia, have you had a chance to test everything out or not yet?
When Bob and I were looking at it, we caught those few things that weren't working, but then it seemed like they were up again. And one, I'll just look again right now, but one was the search, right, Bob? The search wasn't working.
The search is working. And
was it the donation page?
Donation, I believe the donation page is working.
That's good. So I haven't noticed anything else that has, all the things that we noticed were not working are working now.
Well, it wouldn't hurt if you poked around a little more just to make sure.
Every once in a while I get like what is that? It's like I hit a command for it to extract data from me, and I'd be like, this is not available right now. That's not wholly unusual though. Like every once in a while I'll get that and then it goes away. So
sure. So a little more context. We had just done some backdrop updates, and apparently we didn't test Civi CRM after we did the backup, the update on backdrop CMS, and that's what caused the problem. And I think that one of the other things we're not doing that I have a little bit mixed feelings about, but it would be good to notify you probably when that backup happens, so that then you understand, first of all, so that you check and make sure that nothing like this has happened.
Make sure we do a backup ahead. Because sometimes I'm about to do them and it's like, be sure to do a backup before you do this. I'm like, what?
That's sort of on us, like to do a backup right before we do an upgrade. I don't think I want to get to the stage where I'm like notifying you in advance of the upgrades.
Right.
At the level, just because we're adding too much bureaucracy. If we've got regular backups going on, we need to make sure we've got backups before we do upgrades. And you should know, I mainly want you to know afterwards, the risk I run into is that it isn't unusual that when we tell people we've done a backup and to look and see if anything's wrong, is that they find things that weren't working for months. And then they think it was the backup, right? Because suddenly they're paying attention And then they come to us and they say, your backup broke this. And then I go to the dev site and well, this has been broken for months and they just hadn't noticed it. So, I mean, it's still a good thing to find those things, but, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I
I'm
sometimes worry about telling people, we
Yeah.
just did a backup, please check for things, because it's like, oh, they're gonna find something,
mm,
whether it actually broke or not.
right.
So, but it is a good practice. We should be doing it. Okay.
I'm just
Mhm.
mostly I'm just happy that it's all there.
Yeah.
And of course, and I so everything I thought was true, that I'm like, it's all backed up automatically. It's and it's never not been that way. It's just yeah. So anyway, we talked about all that. So it's all good.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should end this, Bob. If you have a few minutes and you want to talk about the Catholic
Sure.
site, we could.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Good, Julia?
Yeah, good with
Oh,
me. So thank you.
Actually, if you don't mind, Bob, maybe Julia stick around for 1 second, because there's something on the Catholic site that.
Oh, and Tim,
Yep.
you should know Esther is leaving on the 16th. So we don't know what that means as far as everything else. It's just Our Lady that was generating all the Spanish requests is moving
Okay.
on. So
Okay.
just so you know.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know what the impact that will be on things.
Okay. Okay. Well, I didn't recognize the name. What I wanted to do quick, we set up a dev site
Okay.
we didn't have one yet. And right now the password is triplo,
So
just to get to the site. And I wanted to show this with Julia still here, because we actually created like a view of events.
okay.
Just a sort of a sample for you, which could be relevant to the whole, to like make formatting this to just look a little. This is pretty quick. This wasn't really designed. This was like a quick thing, but just the fact that it's in a bit more of a table
Right.
gives it a different view. And I guess my point is that I think we could do something simple with this that would make it look better. I mean, even just spacing it a little bit different.
Yeah.
When I sort of noticed it, and again, we might have talked about this before. In fact, as I explain this to you, I feel like we've had this conversation before. The fact that there's no space between the events makes it's like, are they different things? Is it one thing? I don't know. But either just dropping it into something like a simple table, or just adding a little bit of spacing and maybe bolding the event title. These are tiny little things that would make it look better.
A little, even like a box, a space for an image,
Yes, well, certainly adding an image that would be a slightly bigger thing, but not a hard thing. So if you wanted to do it, so these events have images, so we just would need to display them. Okay, I wasn't sure if they all have images, or that's a file. No, featured image. Okay.
Yeah, they all have images.
Okay, well, if they have featured images, yeah, we could display the featured image. A really simple thing to do would be to space it out a little bit, to put the featured image, a thumbnail of the featured image to the left, the content to the right. I think that's a pretty simple thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't think that's in Trello, is it? Even if we did talk about it before. No, we talked about, you have this other, the events, the categorization thing, but.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to add it to my my notes from the meeting, and then we'll create a ticket for it. Okay, that's it then.
Awesome.
Julia.
Thank you. Have a
See you
good
next.
week.